speck you see on the bottom, that's the northern lights. And it's 1 billion miles away from the sun, much further away than the Earth. And yet the radiation from the sun is still able to generate northern lights because the magnetic field is so strong. How about that? It can't be billions of years old. The magnetic field would have run down by now. In fact, a colleague of mine, Dr. Russ Humphreys, who used to work for the Institute for Creation Research, he's retired now, he actually predicted the magnetic fields of the outer planets, especially of Neptune, before it was measured by the Voyager spacecraft. Isn't that interesting? See, the evolutionists thought that those magnetic fields would be very weak because the planets are billions of years old. But Dr. Humphreys said, well, no, based on biblical creation, 6,000 years ago, they ought to be about this strength. And he was exactly right. See, that's how good science works. If you start from the presuppositions of God's Word, you can make successful predictions about what you find in the universe, and it works. The secular predictions are almost always wrong. Occasionally they'll get something right, but even a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then, right? But God's Word consistently makes consistent and correct predictions. No doubt about that. Now, they've come up with an explanation. They've said, well, there must be some kind of recharging mechanism to recharge those magnetic fields, because my secular colleagues know they decay. Well, there's this magnetic dynamo that recharges them, kind of like the alternator in your car, which is a pretty sophisticated machine, and we don't find that in planets, by the way. But one of the predictions of that magnetic dynamo model, and one of its requirements, is that the magnetic field be aligned with the rotation axis. Is it? Not even close. And Neptune's the same way. Neptune's magnetic field is tilted relative to its rotation axis substantially. So you see, it just doesn't work. But the creation model makes sense. Comets are made up of ice and dirt. They're icy dirt balls or dirty ice balls, however you want to look at it. And they orbit the sun in rather elliptical paths, going really far away from the sun, then they swing in close and they get slingshotted back out. Now, when they're far away from the sun, not a problem. But when they come close to the sun, icy material close to the sun, that can't be good. It's not. And so what it does is it causes the comet to disintegrate. That's what a comet's tail is. That's the comet disintegrating. It's material being vaporized from the surface, blasted out into space. And that's why a comet's tail always points away from the sun, regardless of the direction the comet is moving. And so if you've seen a comet, you've seen evidence with your own eyes that the solar system is thousands of years old. It can't be millions or billions. We estimate a typical comet can last no more than 100,000 years. And some of them are much shorter, because some of them come closer to the sun. I used the SOHO spacecraft in my doctoral work at the University of Colorado. And that spacecraft, all it does is look at the sun. And it's discovered many comets, because comets get very bright when they get close to the sun, because the material gets blasted away at an enormous rate. And that's hard for us to see. We can't look at the sun, but SOHO is designed to look at the sun. And so it's discovered over 1,000 comets. And I've seen video from the SOHO spacecraft of a comet going behind the sun, and that's it. I've seen comets destroyed in one pass. They do not last millions of years. In a way, when we find comets out in space, it's kind of like if you walked into this sauna where it's really hot and you see a bunch of ice cream cones there melting. You know they haven't been there very long. Comets are sort of the ice cream cones of the solar system. Okay? We know they haven't been there very long. It's compelling evidence for thousands of years. And my secular colleague said, well, there must be a comet generator that makes new ones, which they call the Oort cloud, basically. This is the view. But we haven't any evidence of an Oort cloud. As far as we know, it exists only in the minds of the secularists. Spiral galaxies are another evidence of a young universe. Spiral galaxies, not all galaxies are spirals, but many of them are, and they rotate differentially, meaning the